ein paar Worte noch zu ihm. Er kommt aus Schottland, wie ihr ja wisst, und hat lange in Australien gelebt. Und seit 10 Jahren
I'll agree to anything right now.
ja, ist er wieder in Schottland. Seine Musik ist irische und schottische Folkmusik und Musik der Arbeiterbewegung. Und da ist auch die Verbindung eigentlich zu People to People, zu diesem Gedanken Völkerverständigung, Völkerfreundschaft und wie international eigentlich auch diese Arbeiterbewegung sich gestaltet oder überhaupt diese Bewegung gegen Krieg. Dafür ist Alistair Hulett ein gutes Beispiel. Er nimmt teil an den Friedensbewegungen mit seiner Musik und auch an solchen Aktionen wie eben der Aktionstag 2. 3. April, die ja europaweit dann begangen werden. Und da eigentlich musikalisch eben diese politischen Gedanken auch zu transportieren, das ist ein wesentlicher Bestandteil seiner musikalischen Richtung. Viel Spaß heute Abend.
Guten Abend. Lovely to be here. You can't imagine how nice it is to be here. I was singing earlier on at the demonstration in Frankfurt, and they said very easy to find your way out. You just drive, and 2.5 hours later I'm still driving around in circles trying to find my way out. It's great to be here. Many of the songs which I sing are from the tradition of the people. They are the traditional songs of the people. Some are very ancient. This first song is maybe 300 or 400 years old, and it's a story song. It comes from the time when Scotland was ruled by a set of gangsters known as the aristocracy. The head of them, the godfather of this particular gang, was known as James Stuart. He called himself the King of Scotland. But he had an illegitimate half-brother. His name was George Gordon. He was from the House of Gordon, not the House of Stuart. And George Gordon dreamed of the day when he would become the top gangster in Scotland. This is a song about one of his attempts to overthrow the Scottish king. There was a battle in the north, and nobles they were money, and they have killed Sir Charlie High and put the white on Geordie, but he has written the lang letter and sent it to his lady, saying ye mun come up to Britain to see what wants a Geordie. When first you looked the letter on, she was baith red and rosy, she hadna read a line or twa, till she wallet like a lily. Cargetty me, me get grey steed, my men ye all gae wi me, and I will neither eat nor drink till in Britain shall see me. Goes, it's better. She mounted up on her get grey steed, her men ye all gaed away her, and she did neither eat nor drink till in Britain did see her. And first appeared the fatal block, and signed the axe to hit him, and Geordie coming down the stairs with bands of iron upon him, though he was chained in fetter strang of iron and steel sae heavy, there was no one in all the court sae braw a man as Geordie. Oh, she's down on her bended knees, oh, but she's pale and weary. Oh, pardon, pardon, noble king, and gie me back my dearie. I hae born 7 sons tae my Geordie dear. The 7th ne'er saw his daddy. Oh, pardon, pardon, noble king, pity a wee fool lady that gar bid the heathen man make haste. Her king replied full hardly, oh noble king, tak a' that's mine, but gie me back my Geordie. Came and the Gordons ran, and they were stark and steady, and I the word among them all was Gordons keep ye ready. But an aged lord at the king's right hand said, noble king, but hear me, gat her till doon £5,000, I and gie her back her dearie. Some gied her merks and some gied her crowns, some gied her dollars money, and she's till doon £5,000, and she's got again her laddie. She blinked wide in her Geordie's face, said, dear, I bought thee Geordie, there should have been bloody bouts on the green, ere I forsook my laddie. She clasped her by the middle sma, and kissed her lips for Rosie, the fairest flower o' womankind, is my sweet body lady. You might have noticed that I was not singing in the English language, I was singing in Scots, and I could see some of you growing more confused as the song went on. Let me give you a few handy little tips. Many English will tell you that the Scots language is a slang, a corrupted form of English, that they speak the true language and we speak a highly corrupted form of it. In actual fact, the opposite is true. They are speaking a corrupted form of Scots. I know this because if you look back at the language that both Scots and English arose out of, it is the language of the Germanic peoples. And if we go to the German, which we would assume would be closer to Anglo-Saxon than any of the others, long in English you say lang, strong you say strang. In Scotland we say lang, strang for strong. Light is licht, night is nicht, you say nacht. So I say to my friends in England, you must learn how to speak more true to the original language. So I'm here to represent the true form of the Germanic language in the British Isles. This is a song about somebody who is much more of a hero of mine than the guy that I was singing about earlier, a fella called John McLean. John McLean lived in Glasgow during the years of the First World War, and he led the anti-war movement in the city of Glasgow. Glasgow came to be known as Red Clydeside. The river which flows through Glasgow is called the Clyde, so it would be like saying Red Rhine, for instance, Red Clyde. The British government was convinced that a revolution was going to take place in Glasgow, and its leader was this man, John McLean. So they put him into prison in the same way that here they put into prison Karl Liebknecht and Rosa Luxemburg for exactly the same reasons. John McLean said, it is the duty of socialists to build class patriotism, to convince workers not to slaughter each other for a sordid world capitalism. This is a song I wrote as a tribute to John McLean, and his slogan was, don't sign up for war. So the bit, if you sing the chorus with me, you sing choruses? Yeah. A bayonet, you know, a bayonet attached onto the, this was something that McLean was famous for saying. He said, a bayonet, this is the sharp thing you put onto the end of a rifle to stab with. A bayonet is a weapon with a worker on either end of it. Betray your country, serve your class. Don't sign up for war, my friend. Don't sign up for war. The tune goes like this. A bayonet, that's a weapon, with the working man at either end. Betray your country, serve your class. Don't sign up for war, my friend. Don't sign up for war. If you join in, you'll be singing in the Scottish dialect. Here we go. A bayonet, that's a weapon, with the working man at either end. Betray your country, serve your class. Don't sign up for war, my friend. Don't sign up for war. Thank you. See yon Arthur Henderson, he'd bummer, oh the working men. When war broke out, he pressed his suit and he ran to catch the train. He signed a deal in London, no more strikes until the fighting's done. In Glasgow town the word went round, tack 10 to John McLean. He said, a bayonet, that's a weapon, with the working man at either end. Betray your country, serve your class. Don't sign up for war, my friend. Don't sign up for war. The police weak them out of there and down to Queen's Park Station. They tell to plain, offend again, and we'll make you rue the day, son. But Johnny didn't turn a hair, he called for a demonstration. A mighty thrang, 10,000 strang, turned out against conscription. He said, a bayonet, that's a weapon, with the working man at either end. Betray your country, serve your class. Don't sign up for war, my friend. Don't sign up for war. The next time that they came for him, John Kent, they met the business. He didn't play for mercy. He said, give me British justice. The justice that he called for stunned money into silence. When out to hell the hammer fell, 3 years was the sentence. He said, a bayonet, that's a weapon, but the working man at either end. Betray your country, serve your class. Don't sign up for war, my friend. Don't sign up for war. McLean reached fever pitch and Mayorman. In a year and a half they caught it off, but Christ it taxed him, sir man. He came back older for his time, but he didn't seem to care, man. Be all you can, I'm still the one, will cause you to beware, man. The last time that they jailed McLean, he came guy close, they scanned with a rubber hose, forced up his nose, they kept him swap supper. Let him out or keep him in, Red Klein was our bully start. The way they turned the government was wheeling Raleigh Guthar. He said, a bayonet, that's a weapon, with the working man at either end. Betray your country, serve your class. Don't sign up for war, my friend. A bayonet, that's a weapon, with the working man at either end. Betray your country, serve your class. Don't sign up for war, my friend. Don't sign up for war. The Scots are well known as being a nation who are very fond of alcohol. Nowadays I only drink water, Wasser. I was having alcohol for breakfast, not a good idea. In order to stamp out the drinking in Scotland, the Scottish Kirk, which is the old name for the church, used to rail against what they called Huchmagandi. Huchmagandi is an old 17th century Scots word, which a modern translation would be sex and drugs and rock and roll. And in those days, if you were caught engaging in Huchmagandi, there was a stool in the church, like a small chair, and it was called the stool of repentance. It means the stool to say you're sorry. And you were made to stand on the stool, and they would hang a sign around your neck to say what particular form of Huchmagandi you were engaged in. And the minister of the church would decide how many Sundays you would spend on the stool of repentance. The common people called it the cutty stool. This is a song about somebody who wound up on the cutty stool. He decided that it was worth every minute of it. The bit that you sing together, that we can sing together, the chorus goes, I swore by the light of the morning sun, my drinking days were over. That very night I was back in town, following the ways of a rover. I swore by the light of the morning sun, my drinking days were over. That very night I was back in town, following the ways of a rover. Okay? Starts off with a Highland pipe tune. I've travelled east, I've travelled west, and I've been south of the border. Seldom sober, often drunk, sometimes out of order. Sometimes I've been true to love, and sometimes I've betrayed it. But when it's time to cop my whack, then I've copped up and paid it. I swore by the light of the morning sun, the drinking days were over. That very night I was back in town, following the ways of a rover. Toast for all blank sign friends absent or departed. I'll drink to my ain true love, though she was fickle-hearted, and lay me down with another girl with a heap full of wine and brandy. Who gives a shout for the cutty stool? It's high for Huchmagandi. I swore by the light of the morning sun, my drinking days were over. That very night I was back in town, following the ways of a rover. And regulations through the smoke of innocence, like queens will reel and spin all down the gorgeous avenue you call the path of sin. When I swore by the light of the morning sun, the drinking days were over. That very night I was back in town, following the ways of a rover. And I swore by the light of the morning sun, the drinking days were over. That very night I was back in town. All together, I was following the ways of a rover. Someone was asking me before why I needed to have two guitars. Now I will demonstrate the reason. This guitar is in a special Celtic guitar tuning that sort of makes the guitar sound a little bit able to play the bagpipe tunes. This is an ordinary guitar tuning.
I asked it.
You did too. That's right.
And if you hadn't asked it, the question would never have arisen. Well done. My other love, musically that is Black American music, which I've discovered you can sing with a Scottish accent. It took a while to convince myself of this, but I now I'm convinced you can actually do it. Anyway, see what you think. This is a song called "Stealing Back to My Same Old Used to Be," recorded by Gus Cannon and the Memphis Jug Stompers in 1928, when traditional jazz developed in the cities. Back in the country area, they were listening to this music and trying to imitate it, but of course they didn't have the sophisticated instruments that people had in the city, so they improvised. For instance, instead of having an upright bass, they would get a jug and blow into it like that, and became known as jug bands. It was an attempt to improvise the sound of the traditional jazz bands, and Gus Cannon and his Memphis Jug Stompers were amongst the most famous of the jug bands from the 1920s. This is one of their hits, "Stealing Back to My Same Old Used to Be." If you know it, does anybody know it? Stealing, stealing, pretty mama, don't you tell on me, 'cause I'm stealing back to my same old used to be. Put your arms around me like a sucker around the sun. You know I love you, babe. When your easy riding's done, you don't believe I love you. Look what a fool I've been. You don't believe I'm sinking. Look what a hole I'm in. Stealing, stealing, pretty mama, don't you tell on me. 'Cause I'm stealing back to my same old used to be. Got a woman about my age and size. She's a married woman, but she treats me right. She don't believe I love her. Look what a fool I've been. She don't believe I'm sinking. Look what a hole I'm in. Stealing, stealing, pretty mama, don't you tell on me. 'Cause I'm stealing back to my same old used to be. Put your arms around me like a sucker around the sun. You know I love you, babe. When your easy riding's done, you don't believe I love you. Look what a fool I've been. You don't believe I'm sinking. Look what a hole I'm in. Stealing, stealing, pretty mama, don't you tell on me. 'Cause I'm stealing back to my same old used to. Stealing back to my same old used to. Stealing back to my same old used to be. This is a song from Ireland. It's from the singing of a singer from Dublin called Al O'Donnell. Al's a wonderful, wonderful singer, but it's a rare thing for him to make a record. I think he's done one in years, but this is from an album that he put out in the 1970s. His most remarkable collection of traditional Irish songs. This is one called The Dark-Eyed Sailor, and it's a story that arises again and again in the folk tradition. A young man has been away at sea for so long that when he returns to his village, nobody knows who he is. They've forgotten him, they don't recognize him. And he is afraid that his lover has also forgotten him. So in order to test her love, to see whether she still cares for him, he disguises himself even further, pretends to be somebody else altogether, and approaches her and says, I've come to tell you your boyfriend's dead, but don't worry, I'm here to take his place. And of course she says, no one can take his place. If I can't have him, I'll have no one. And at that point he throws off his disguise and reveals himself to be none other than the boyfriend who's been gone for ever so long. Loads of those songs. I think they arose because of a real fear on the part of the men and their spouses who were forcibly separated, because in those days the only way you could get people to join the British Navy, because conditions were so bad, was to drag them out of their bed and hit them over the head, so that when they woke up the next morning they were on a ship. They called it the press gang. So anyway, this is a song about a returning sailor, dark-eyed sailor. I went out one evening fair, it being the summertime, to take the air. I spied a sailor and a lady gay, and I stood to listen, and I stood to listen, to hear what they might say. He said, fair maiden, why do you roam? The day is spent and the night is on. She heaved a sigh and the tears did roll for her dark-eyed sailor, for her dark-eyed sailor, so young and stout and bold. It's 7 long years since he left this land, a ring he took from off his lily white hand. One half of the ring is still here with me, but the other's rolling, at the bottom of the sea. He said, you must drive him out of your mind. Some other young man you'll surely find. But the drink, he said, you must drive him out of your mind. Some other young man you'll surely find. Love turns aside and soon cold does grow, like a winter's morning, like a winter's morning, the hills all white with snow. She said, I will never forsake my dear, although we're parted this many's a year. Genteel he was and no rake like you, to induce a maiden, to induce a maiden to slide the jack
young William Shaw. She ran distracted in grief and woe, saying, William, William, I have gold in store for my dark-eyed sailor, for my dark-eyed sailor has proved my overthrow. And there is a cottage by yonder lea, this couple's married and does agree. So maids, be loyal when your love's at sea, for a cloudy morning, for a cloudy morning brings in a sunny day.
In Glasgow, her arms up like that and she's shouting, and there's a wonderful strength to this statue. And I was away from Glasgow when it was erected, so when I returned I didn't know what this meant until I made some inquiries, and the statue is called La Passionata, and it's a statue which was erected to commemorate the men and women who became members of the International Brigade in 1936 and went over to Spain from Glasgow. A great many went over to fight against the fascists and to defend the republic, the socialist republic that was being formed there. And the statue fell into disrepair, but just a few months ago it was restored, and the surviving Glaswegians who had been soldiers in Spain against the fascists were invited to the re-commemoration of this monument. And I had the great honour of singing two songs for them. I'll sing one of them now and the other one much later in the night. This is a song about a man who left the Glasgow shipyards, a shipyard worker by the name of Jamie Foyers, went over to Spain. Far distant, lies Foyers' grave, nae tombstone memorial shall hallow his grave. For his bones they lie scattered on the rude soil of Spain. Young Jamie Foyers in battle slain. He's gone to the shipyards that stand on the Clyde. His hammer lies idle and his tools all laid aside. To the wide Ebro River young Foyers has gone to fight at the side of the people of Spain. He come home from the shipyards, took off his working clothes, a mind the time wheel and the lang summer days. He said, think ye no, lassie,
Jamie Foyers in battle slain. There was never his equal at work or at play. He was strong in the Union until his dying day. He was grand at the football, at the dance he was braw. Young Jamie Foyers, he was the floor o' the mall. But he's gone fae the shipyards that stand on the Clyde. His hammer lies idle and his tools all laid aside. To the windy Bro River young Foyers is gane, to fight at the side o' the people of Spain. And the fight for Belchita, he was 80 the fore, and he fought at Gandesa till he couldn't fight more. He lay out his machine gun, way a bullet in his brain. Young Jamie Foyers in battle was slain. Far distant, lies Foyers the brave. Nae tombstone memorial shall hallow his grave. But his bones they lie scattered on the rude soil of Spain. Young Jamie Foyers in battle was slain. Back to the bagpipe guitar. This time, Red Clydeside, I would not want to give the impression that this was just a whole bunch of men doing their thing. In actual fact, the women of Glasgow played a massive role in Red Clydeside. They led the Rent Strike, which began the whole uprising. The city was a centre of wartime production. Ships and tanks and guns and bombs were being made in Glasgow. And so workers were drawn into the city from all over Scotland. And this resulted in a housing shortage, not enough housing for the people who had come to work in the factories. And the landlords who owned the houses began to charge very, very high rent so that the poor could not pay. And anyone who could not pay was being thrown out of their home. And of course, the most vulnerable of these were the wives of the men who were away at the front in the trenches fighting. And when word got back to the trenches in Europe that their wives and their children were being thrown out onto the street, there was a mutiny in the trenches. So the women of Glasgow organised the rent strike. They refused to pay their rent. And when the sheriff's officer, who was like the officer of the court, came to collect the rent, they would organise a signal to let everybody know he was on his way. And before he would arrive at the house, he would be surrounded by women with eggs and flour and rolling pins and whatever they could lay their hands on, and they beat him until he ran away. And in this way, many people were saved from eviction. But between the mutiny in the trenches and the rent strike back in Glasgow, this gave a real headache to the government. And it was out of this that arose the uprising that I made a CD about called Red Clydeside. This is a tribute to the women of Glasgow who organised the rent strike.
And the chorus is in Glaswegian dialect. Can I teach it to you and you can sing in the Glaswegian language? It goes, Amphi Govan. Now this is a working class region near the Clyde where there are many shipyards. I'm Fay Govan means I'm from Govan. Fay is from. Amphi Govan. Year Fay Partick, also on the other side of the Clyde, somewhere else where they make many ships. Amphi Govan, Year Fay Partick. This yin here's Fay Bridgewea. And Dawn, that one, Dawn's Fay Kinning Park. There's some that's Prods, that means the Protestants. There's some that's Catholic, because in those days the Catholic and the Protestant workers fought each other, but the rent strike united them. There's some that's Prods, there's some that's Catholic, but we're Mrs. Barber's army, she was the leader. We're Mrs. Barber's army and we're here to do the work, here to get the job done, the work. You got that? If you don't know the words, just make them up. No one will know the difference. In the tenements of Glasgow in the year 1915, it was one line bloody struggle to keep ourselves alive. We were counting out the coppers to buy our scraps of food, when the landlords put the rent up just because they could. Oh, the factories were humming, there was overtime galore, but wages they were driven down to subsidise the war. Out came Mrs. Barber from her wee bit single end. She said, I'll organise the lassies if I can't rouse the men, 'cause I'm Fay Govan and you're Fay Partick. The Sherry's Fay Bridgewea and Dawn's Fay Kinning Park. There's some that's Prods, there's some that's Catholic, but we're Mrs. Barber's army and we're here to do the work. Mrs. Barber made a poster saying we'll no pay higher rent, then chapped on every door of every Govan tenement. She said, put this in the wind here when you hear me bang the drum. We'll run out and chase the factor all the way to Kingdom Come. When the poor wee soul come round, he was battered black and blue by a regiment in pennies that knew just what to do. Mrs. Barber organised the gathering of the clans, and they burst out of the steamy, armed with pots and frying pans, saying, I'm Fay Govan and you're Fay Partick. The Sherry's Fay Bridgewea and Dawn's Fay Kinning Park. There's some that's Prods, there's some that's Catholic, but we're Mrs. Barber's army and we're here to do the work. Mrs. Barber's army spread through Glasgow like the plague. The maesters got the message and the message was nae vague. While our men folk fight the Kaiser, we'll stay home and fight the war against the greedy bastards who keep grinding down the poor. If you want to stop conscription, stand and fight the profiteers. Bring the hail big bloody sandpit crashing down around their ears. We'll no stars at Mrs. Barber, while the men we call her ain are marching off to hear their heart's blood wash like water down a drain. 'Cause I'm Fay Govan and you're Fay Partick. The Sherry's Fay Bridgewea and Dawn's Fay Kinning Park. There's some that's Prods, there's some that's Catholic, but we're Mrs. Barber's army and we're here to do the work. It didn't take the government that long to realise, if you crack down on the leaders, then the rest will compromise. They arrested Mrs. Barber and they clapped her in the jail, but they made an awfully big mistake, they let her out on bail. She called the men out of the factories on the vans and on the cart. They marched up to the court who said we'll tear the place apart. Mrs. Barber's army brought the maesters to their knees, with a regiment in pennies, backed by one in dungarees, saying I'm Fay Govan and you're Fay Partick. The Sherry's Fay Bridgewea
shall wear and dons they ken par. There's some that's prods, there's some that's Catholic, but we're Mrs. Barbersamy and we're duty day the war. I we're Mrs. Barbersamy and we're duty day the war.
I'll finish off this first set. We'll have a wee break and get yourselves a drink. And I'll finish off with a song which is also about the leader of Red Clydeside, John Maclean, but not written by me. Written by the head of the School of Scottish Studies, the folklorist Hamish Henderson. I don't know whether you're familiar with Hamish Henderson, but Hamish wrote, amongst other songs, a very famous song called The Freedom Come All Ye. And now that we have a Scottish Parliament, many people feel that there should be a Scottish national anthem instead of singing God Save the Queen. I think anything would be better than singing God Save the Queen. And many people argue that it should be this song written by Hamish called The Freedom Come All Ye, but I think it's got as much chance as a snowball in hell of becoming the national anthem until long after a workers' revolution overthrows the people who these days make these kind of decisions. It's basically a song calling for socialism. Hamish was not only the head of the School of Scottish Studies, he was a socialist and a very committed one. He's now dead. He died of old age, 80 years old. But this is one of his most well-known songs. He wrote this song about John Maclean returning to Glasgow after time spent in jail. He was jailed 6 times by the British government during the time from 1914 till 1918. 6 times he was arrested for treason because he used to hold meetings outside the office where the people went to sign up to be soldiers to go to fight. He held his meetings outside, and this was illegal in that time. It was forbidden because there was a law called the Defence of the Realm Act that made it a crime to speak out against participation in the war. So Hamish has written this rather wonderful song, and if you think my songs are in heavy Scots dialect, wait till you get Hamish's. This is called Great John Maclean Has Come Home to the Clyde. Take a wee break after that. Hi man, did you see him as he came down Big Argy? Oh, I'm going north o' the Tay. Yon man is coming, the whole town is turning out, but oh sure he'll win back to Glasgow the day. The Chiners and Hunters on, they're marching for Clydebank. Come on now and hear him, he'll be our trying to bide. Turn out, Jock and Jimmy, leave your cans and your muckle gantries. Great John Maclean has come home to the Clyde. Argyle Street and London roads, the route that we're marching. The lads fae the Brumila, they're here to a man. Neil, wash your hodrums, you big hail and chuff them. Take your pipes, mate, and march at the head o' the clan. Hello, Pat Malone, well I knew you'd be here, so the red and the green lad will wear side by side. Cornwall's is his today, Scotland belongs to him. The great John Maclean has come home to the Clyde. Forward to Glasgow Green, we'll march and get order. Well, grips his banner wheel, that boy is nae Blake. Look now, that's Johnny there, that's him, he's the bonny fighter.
Alistair, Lennon's his comrade, and Leibnitz his mate. Tap tent while he's speaking, for they'll mind what he says here in Glasgow, our city, and the whole world beside. Aye man, the Scarlet's bonny, here's to you, Hill and Shawnee, great John MacLean has come home to the Clyde. I will when it's finished, I'm away home to Springburn, come home to your tea, John, we'll soon have you fed. It's hard work the speaking, och I'm sure he'll be tired the night, we'll sleep on the flare mat and gie John the bed. The whole city's quiet now, it ken city's resting, at home with Glasgow brings their fame and their pride. The red banners waving man, Scotland has marched again, the great John MacLean has come home to the Clyde. Aye, great John MacLean has come